So I just got a card in the mail that I was not expecting to see again in 2019. This card's been around for a while, but actually ends up being a pretty good value in that sub $200 price category. If you guys don't know what card I'm talking about, it is the RX 580. So XFX sent this card out to me and they said, hey, we think this is pretty good value, you should take a look at it. And at the time I wasn't really sure because the GTX 1650 Super actually holds a pretty good value in this price category, but then AMD released the 5500 XT and suddenly the RX 580 made a lot more sense. If you guys have followed any of the benchmarks, you know that the GTX 1650 Super, the 5500 XT, and the RX 580 all perform within the same general ballpark, so really it comes down to pricing at the end of the day, and right now, the pricing is on the side of the RX 580. So if you're in this kind of price range or market looking for a budget card, I think this is one you should consider.
Okay, get ready to move.
In the area.
Cargo containers.
Got a personal radar drone ready. UHQ established.
Jaguar 3-0 en route for personal radar coverage.
Now as for this specific card, it's got a black fan shroud on it, which honestly doesn't feel that great from a quality perspective. But it does have two 100mm fans on it, which should hopefully keep the card cool. It's got what looks like 4 copper heat pipes running through the heatsink of the card, as well as an aluminum backplate covering up the PCB on the other end. To power the card, you have just a single 8-pin connector, and also what you can't clearly see is a dual BIOS switch. This will actually change the card from a quiet-oriented fan mode to a more performance-oriented one, in case you care more about cooling than you do noise. On the I/O side, we've got plenty of display options, 1 DVI-D, 1 HDMI 2.0, and 3 DisplayPort 1.4 connections. All in all, I'd say a pretty solid card, but you know, we gotta test it out and make sure it performs. I ran a few games just to put the card through its paces. It's completely stock, by the way, so 1366 on the core clock, 1386 on the boost clock, and 2000 megahertz on the memory clock. I decided to try out a third-person shooter, which I guess this qualifies as Assassin's Creed Origin. We ran at the very high preset at 1080p. By the way, all of these were tested at 1080p. We hit an average frame rate of 55.24, so not too bad. We did have some dips into the 30 FPS range, so maybe I would turn the graphics settings down a little bit or play with them a little bit to get something a little higher overall, but not too bad. Next game up was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so a title that was released just not too long ago. This is high settings. We ran it at 1080p again, and this was on the Proxy War single player mission. We hit an average frame rate of 78.74. So not too bad there. Definitely hit over 60 FPS, which I think is pretty much a target for this card at this point. 1080p 60 FPS is really what you should be shooting for. Jumping over to Destiny 2, we ran the highest preset. This was on the kind of single player intro opening scene that you go through. We had 88.88 average FPS, so I was able to run this game pretty much with no issues at all. I think once you get into the full game with other people, maybe it'll dip down a little bit, but you shouldn't have any issues with this game at all. Now jumping over to something a little bit more demanding, we went with Watch Dogs 2. This was on the Ultra preset, and we hit 45.14 average FPS. And if you're wondering why everything is on like Ultra or highest preset, something like that, I like to put the card through its paces. We're not here to make it look good. We want to test it out and really see what it can do. So if you're gonna play this game for yourself, maybe you'll want to run it on a preset lower than this, or just make some adjustments to the graphics settings. And the last one I tested, because 580's been out a while, we don't need a whole suite of games, but we ran Wolfenstein 2 Ultra preset. This was on the Roswell map. We hit 96.15 average FPS. And if you look at the lows here, the 99th percentile and the 99.9th percentile, they were pretty much at 60 FPS and above. So yeah, nothing really too worried about. Obviously that is kind of a big drop from 96, but since it's so high, it's probably not going to be that bad in game for you. So just keep that in mind. I do have to say one thing about the card. We did hit about 78C on the temperatures. That was the hottest that I ever saw, with the fans running at about 2200 RPM. I did notice there was some vibration with the card at that RPM, which was definitely noticeable and annoying. I don't know about that fan shroud, man, so just hopefully nobody else has that issue. But from a performance standpoint, I think the RX 580 did just fine. Alright guys, and just to wrap this up, again, if you're looking at a 5500 XT, at least the 8GB model, I would definitely give a strong consideration to the RX 580 instead. But ultimately, the choice is going to be up to you. Again, you've got the GTX 6050 Super, the 5500 XT, and the RX 580. You guys let me know what you would pick down in the comments below. And actually, whether you would even go for any of the 4GB models, which may be able to offer some better value. So put that down in the comments below, and let me know which one you pick. Like this video if you like this type of content. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. And I will catch you guys in the next video. I'm out of here. See ya!